Good evening. It is now the end of the Champions League group stages, so we are going to talk about it. I'm Sava from Sava Talks Football, and I'm joined by the boys from the Mad Sports Network. We have got, let's start with a sensible one first of all, and then we'll come to the controversy. Devo, how are you, my man? Are you good? Are you well?
He's the sensible one.
I'm all right. I am the sensible one. You know what?
Well, he's not the one. He's not the one. He hasn't come on screen dressed like Prince, has he? So, I mean, of course he's the sensible one. Devo, how you doing, man? You good?
I'm good. I failed my theory test this morning by 3 marks. But other than that, I'm good. Oh, mate, road signs.
You'll get it next time.
Who actually looks at road signs? Do you know what I mean?
Mate, it's overrated. It's overrated. Don't worry about it.
It is overrated, yeah. I'll get it next time.
That's why they invented Uber. Gav, hello. Would you like to explain this wonderful look? It's like you're going skiing and pimping all at the same time.
Well, I'm a skiing pimp, you know what I mean? But I've got man flu. I've got severe man flu. I actually tried to bail out the show 45 minutes ago, and I got cussed out by the host, the Don Aficionado, man like Sava. So I've set up the whole podcast stuff in my bedroom, and therefore, when we're done, I could just shut the laptop and just pass out. So, but I'm here, and that's the main thing.
It is. Well, listen, welcome, lads. Look, let's we'll talk Premier League a bit later. Let's talk Champions League. First of all, welcome to everyone in the chat. Doesn't matter who you support, Millwall, Leicester, Newcastle, Spurs, Arsenal. You're all very, very welcome. Let's talk Champions League. I think there's no better place to start tonight, guys, than Group H. The stories from Group H are quite fantastic. You've got Benfica, PSG, and Juventus all in a group. And I think at the beginning, if you had asked most people, they probably would have said Juve and PSG are going to go through in that group. And Benfica in the 93rd minute, Devo, with their 6th goal and a 6-1 battering of Maccabi Haifa, have won the group and not PSG in second. How big an achievement is that, Devo?
That's a huge achievement. As you said at the beginning, when the draw were made, no one outside of Benfica would have thought that they would have had a chance of qualifying for the next round. And they've gone and won the group in dramatic fashion. They've had a really good start to the season in their domestic league. I think they're several points clear of Porto in second. And they've taken that form into Europe. 2 really good draws against PSG. Battered Juve in the last game last week, and deservedly won the group. It's not a fluke. They've performed very, very well in the group, and to get the result that they got against Haifa is incredible, because this is the 6th permutation. I think they've gone through 6 tiebreakers in order for them to get this. They've gone through on Scoring more away goals.
So let's get this right, Devo. When you say 6 tiebreakers, we're talking about what level on points, level on goals, level on goals conceded, level on head-to-head.
So yeah, the way it works, previously it was like if you are level, it goes to goal difference, but they changed it a few years ago to head-to-head results. But the games in both at the Stadio de Luche and at in Paris as well, both games ended 1-1. So the head-to-head was out of the question completely at that point.
Right.
Goals scored, I believe they're on the same. Goals conceded, I believe they're on the same as well. So then we have to go down to away goals. Now, if that has stayed the same as well, I believe they would have actually had to draw lots tomorrow.
Wow.
So effectively flip a coin. A little bit like how, I believe, who was it? Was it Czechoslovakia in like 1976? They got through to the semi-finals of the Euros just by the flip of a coin or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure.
I'm old, but I'm not that old. I weren't around for that.
It's pretty naughty. And it's like what happens if the coin lands in the ground, like half and half, But yeah,
and you just give up at that point and let Juve go through.
Exactly. This is massive. I think, right, a little bit of respect needs to be put onto Benfica. They're
For sure.
11 games into their campaign back home. 10 games, 11 games, 10 wins, 1 draw. They're unbeaten all season so far. And, Porto, I know we're going to talk about Porto later on as well, but I think the Portuguese teams need to have a little bit of respect put on their names. Like Sporting, you had a tough time against Sporting on both occasions, and they narrowly missed out as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, because your group was tight, but Benfica are doing bits at the moment, and they should be very happy with themselves.
I mean, the funny thing is, and I won't go into this too much, I want to talk about the Champions League, is, whenever football fans talk about leagues, we always seem to dismiss the Portuguese league. But the players that are coming out of the Portuguese league and coming into the Premier League year in, year out are phenomenal. There's so many top players. And I was speaking to my mate today, who's he's a Spurs fan, but he's Portuguese. So he gives us all the lowdown on the Portuguese clubs. And he said the attacking talent that clubs like Porto and Benfica have got is scary. They've just got so many quality Portuguese forwards. How far can a club like Benfica go, Devo? I mean, is this going to be a fairy tale group stage, or are they a genuine threat to this competition?
I mean, there's some real powerhouses left. I mean, we'll talk about the Real Madrids, we'll talk about the Bayerns and stuff like that. I think Benfica winning the group gives them a great chance of progressing a bit further. Obviously, if they come second, you're looking at Bayerns and Real Madrids and all of those kind of teams. But the only thing I'd be worried about is if they get into the next round and end up against a Liverpool or someone like that, who at Anfield, you'd always trust Liverpool to get the job done. So I think they could go quite deep. The things with the Champions League, it is luck of the draw, isn't it? It's luck of the draw. We'll move on to Spurs, and everyone in the comments saying Spurs are going to get PSG, but you could quite easily turn around and get yourself a Club Brugge, who you would expect Spurs to be favourites for, even though Club Brugge have been really good this year. So we'll
talk about my lot a little bit. We'll talk about my lot next. But yeah, I mean, if we look at the teams Benfica could get, then guys. So Benfica winning the group, they could get Liverpool, they could get Club Brugge, they could get Inter Milan, Frankfurt, AC Milan, Leipzig, or Dortmund. So, I mean, there's no game there which I suppose we're all going to belittle in a way Club Brugge, right? I think everyone's going to be praying that they get Club Brugge, but there's some tasty games there if they come off, right?
Yeah, I think everyone will be looking at Club Brugge, but Club Brugge, they should have won their group, really and truly. They flew out of the blocks in that group, and they should have won it. So they're not a walkover. I mean, it's the Champions League at the end of the day. If you get to the knockout stages, it's because you're a good side.
Yeah, I mean, Gav, are you of the same opinion? Have Benfica got enough teams there that they'll be confident they'll beat whoever they play, or are they going to be looking to avoid the likes of Inter Milan and Liverpool?
Man, their home ground is a joke. 60,000 fans. They're raucous as well. People talk about Liverpool and their home support, but that sort of like partisan vibe when you are playing against those European clubs. The big bands are there, like banging the drums. The fans are going wild. It's not going to be an easy place to go. There will be teams that they probably will fancy more so. There are teams in that runners-up category that are solid at home but don't travel so well. Teams like Dortmund, teams like Leipzig, teams like Milan to a degree. I think they've got some fantastic talents. They've got João Mario, who was like one of the big names a few years ago, but still doing bits right now. Otamendi he's reformed as a player over the last couple seasons. Darwin Nunez, man, what a player! What a player! I reckon there'll be a few teams in the runners-up group that'll be like, "Oh, I fancy Benfica next round," and they're going to be they're going to come up against a very strong side, and I think they're going to be taken for granted by a few.
So let's flip it then. Still in this group then, Devo. When we look at PSG, they've managed to find themselves second in the group, having not lost a game in the group.
Yeah.
They would have been heavy favourites for that group. Are they going to be worried because they can potentially get Man City, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspur, Bayern Munich, Porto, and Napoli? I mean, if you're PSG, who are you wanting there? Are you wanting Spurs? I hate saying, are you wanting
Chelsea.
Spurs?
You want Spurs or Chelsea for me? Spurs,
Yeah.
Spurs,
Right now,
Porto.
you take Chelsea. I wouldn't want
it's
to
one
take
of those
Chelsea in a
three.
few months' time.
Yeah,
It's
I agree. I agree with that, Gav. I think give Potter time. I think a lot of people. I saw today there was a YouTube show. I can't remember who it was saying Potter will be out in 2 months, and I thought, God, this is mad. Like he's lost one game in about 9.
It's Chelsea, isn't it? They say that about every Chelsea manager.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count anymore. Under Abramovich, then he's got probably till Christmas if he doesn't do too well. You know? But like this is under Todd Bowley. He's got a whole different setup, a whole different style. You know, you got to remember, like Graham Potter is having to tinker live. He hasn't had an opportunity to have a pre-season. He's only able to look at Chelsea from afar. So if you were to get rid of him at any point during the season, even if they were to finish outside the top 4, it'd be callous. So you just need to allow him.
Lost one game.
He's only lost one game.
Yeah, he's lost one game. I suppose it was the manner of that one game, right?
It was a bad loss. Yeah,
it was being hammered by his old club that I think has kind of made everyone go into meltdown. But if you actually look now, they've topped a Champions League group. He's got them back up there in and around the top 4. I mean, let me ask you, lads, and obviously, I'm a Spurs fan, but please, be honest. Let's be fair. If I was one of those teams that finished top, I would want Spurs. If I was one of the teams that finished second, I'd want Spurs. I wouldn't want to play Napoli, the form they're in.
No,
I wouldn't want to play Porto, how they're playing this year.
I'd rather play Porto out of all of those. I know I just said what I said about. Despite what I just said about Portuguese football and putting a bit of respect on it, Porto are third in their league and they're 8 points behind after 11 games. That is not good enough for. Look, in the Portuguese league, 3 teams go off and do stuff. Sometimes you might get a Braga walk in and try and mix it up and like rock the apple cart. But predominantly, those 3 teams will only lose games against each other. Porto are not doing the things that they normally should be doing right now. I would be fancying playing Porto now, and I would fancy playing Porto in February.
Yeah. Let me just quickly ask everyone in the chat. The numbers are growing in the chat. Please subscribe to the Mad Sports Network, and also please subscribe to Sava Talks Football. If you do want to leave a super chat, as you know, the money does go to the British Heart Foundation. So please do leave those super chats. It's for a very good cause. The question to everyone in the chat: if you finish second, who do you want? Who do you want? Do you want Napoli? You want Porto? You want Spurs, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Man City, Benfica? Who do you want if you finish second? Guys, let's move to, still in this group, Juventus. I mean, we're talking about one of the biggest clubs in world football that have won this competition many times. And to go into that group, they've won 1 game and lost 5. And they finished 11 points off second. I mean, 2 questions. What has happened, and how is Allegri still the manager of Juventus?
Because they can't afford to sack him.
Exactly.
He's coming on a massive contract. The first year of that contract, I think, was it 5 years or something they give him? So they can't afford to sack him. They are in transition. When you look at the players, I mean, Vlahovic was wanted across Europe, scoring goals. Milik didn't really get a massive look in at Napoli. Moved on to Marseille, didn't really do it in Marseille, and now he's gone into Juventus. They're the kind of level of signings that they've been making over the last couple of years. They need a reset. I think this season will be a reset for them, and then they'll see what they do next season. Maybe when Pogba comes back from injury, it might lift the club, but who knows? But for me, Juve are in decline, and it's going to take a massive turnaround for them, because you look at what Milan are doing, look at what Inter are doing, look at what Napoli are doing. Roma have got something in place. Lazio look good. So there's a good chance that if Juve don't pull their socks up and get something sorted out, this could be 2 or 3 seasons for them where they're like playing catch up, basically.
And you've got Roma as well, right? Roma, they're just kind of there. I still feel Roma are
on the cusp.
A couple of top players short for me of challenging for a title, but they're definitely in that top 4 mix. And I don't know what you guys think. I feel like the Italian league in the last couple of years just started to creep up. Now, I know there's not the money of the Premier League, but when you look at the players Napoli have got and Inter Milan have got, and some of the players Lazio and Juve and Roma, there's some top talent flying around the Serie A, isn't there, Gav?
Yeah, 100%. And teams are going there. A lot of players are going there through choice. You know, I'm loving Napoli at the moment. Cavradonna, what a player! Honestly, I love that guy. Every time I watch him, I'm just like, yo, honestly, he's so special. They picked him up relatively cheap as well. The thing is, players are going to Italy that are a decent level and improving. And what's the difference between, say, like Serie A and the Bundesliga is that if they do sell for big money, they can then use that big money to then go buy whoever they want. Whereas, like in Germany, for argument's sake, because of the ownership rules, the 50/50+1, those teams, unless you're buying, frankly, they can't reinvest. They can't go out and spend 60, 70, 80 million pound on a player. So people, as long as that the money is reinvested back into the league, basically is what I'm saying. Hence why the standard is getting better. It's nothing to do with it being a defensive league or anything like that. Those days are gone. You know, the 90s aren't here anymore.
I agree with you.
There are still defensive elements to it, but it's exciting. A lot more exciting talents coming over. Players from South America are players that are on the cusp of because let me break it down very quickly. You got the Premier League, Serie A, Bundesliga, La Liga, and Liga, and for argument's sake, they're the top tier leagues, right? Then in the second tier, you've got like the Eredivisie, Primera League, etc., and then you've got another league down. Whereas what's happening in Italy right now, players are getting purchased from that second tier division, second tier league group, and it's like a bit like what Liverpool were doing years ago, buying the best players from the poorest clubs and increasing their stature, increasing their value, because those players, they're so good at their current average club, they want to stand out and be better. And this is what is happening right now in Italy, and that's why we're seeing the best of it. It's also on our shores as well. We're able to see it on a more regular basis. It's on BT Sport, so we're able to watch it on a regular basis, so we can get our own scouting reports and that as well, rather than just like looking on SofaScore and be like, oh yeah, your man had an 8.9 today. We're actually able to watch these. We're actually able to watch these games as live. So yeah, the eyes are on Serie A at the moment. And the fact that Juve aren't winning it anymore every year is also making it a bit more exciting for the casual fan.
Well, I mean, in the last 3-4 years, you've had Juve win it, Inter have won it, AC Milan have won it. This year, you've got a couple of other teams up there. So, I mean, that's good. I mean, last thing I'll say about that group, Mbappe tonight has become the youngest player ever to hit 40 Champions League goals. I mean, it's a wonderful stat. He's a great player. I'm just gutted he's not gone to a bigger league. Sorry, I don't want to go too deep into that, but I just wish he was in a better league.
Where else is he going to get the chance to run a club?
No, I hear you, but I just wish you know what I mean? I just wish he was at a bigger league and we could see what he's all about. But look, let's move on. I want to talk about Group D, the best Champions League group. It's Tottenham's group. I'll be honest, guys. When the group was drawn, even look, I've got to admit it. As a Spurs fan, you're looking at that group and going, "Yeah, I'll have that. I'll have that." Right? Because in years gone by, if someone had said to you Spurs, Frankfurt, Lisbon, and Marseille, you would have said that's a Europa League group. Yeah. No disrespect to any of those.
That.
You would have said that's a Europa League group. And it turned out to be, I think, the tightest of all the groups going into the last game, I think all 4 teams could qualify. And look, the drama didn't stop there on the last day. I think at one point, all of the teams were going through.
Swap places. Yeah.
Did the group finish how you guys thought it would in terms of that order I've read out? Spurs, Frankfurt, Lisbon, Marseille. Were there any surprises? And can we gauge how good any of the teams in that group are by their performances so far in the Champions League? I'll start with you, Devo.
For me, the only thing that I would have been certain of at the beginning of that is that Spurs would top the group. I think Spurs are probably a cut above the other teams in that group on paper. I think after that, it's a bit of a free fall. I was a little bit surprised with Marseille. Thought Marseille probably would have got through at least to the Europa League, but they're out of Europe altogether. A little bit disappointing in Marseille. Happy for Frankfurt as a Bundesliga fan. I think Frankfurt are a very good side going forward. Some really good talent there. So their first ever go in the Champions League. So I'm very happy that they got out of the group and got into the knockout stages. But it was a very entertaining group in terms of what you're saying. Going into the last game, everyone had something to play for. Everyone could top the group. Everyone had, that something that they could. It was all in. Everyone was playing for something. Do you know what I mean? They were all in charge of their own destiny. So it was very exciting going into it. Obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I was sitting there thinking, "Come on, Guendouzi, come on, Sanchez," and it would be Kolasinac that Kolasinac should have buried that header. Completely different conversation we're having now, but that's Kolasinac for you.
It makes you laugh, doesn't it? Comments like this, it makes me laugh because football is the margins are so fine, right? I mean, literally, I said in the show last night, if Kolasinac scores that header, it's a completely different day today being a Tottenham fan, right? It's a completely different day. Kolasinac scores that header. They go through. They didn't. We go down the other end. Højbjerg, who can't even run, sprinting down the other end of the pitch and buries it. And that's football, right, guys? But Gav, what I would say is the reason I was confident that Spurs would get out of this group is the one thing I don't think Lisbon, Marseille and Frankfurt have is goal scorers. I don't think, if I said to you, name me a top striker from any of those 3 clubs, is there a marksman there?
Yeah, a top striker in 2022. No, Tottenham are far clear of that. Right. But yeah, I think they made a rub for their own back. That's we'll talk more about the group and the teams in it rather than Conte ball because
I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
We're not doing that today. I'm
not going there. I want to enjoy the stream.
Yeah, exactly. Man for man, Spurs are, as Devo said, they are cut above the rest. And likewise with Devo, because we are the Bundesliga merchants, Frankfurt qualifying from that group, it fills my heart. It really does, because Frankfurt are full of talent, man. There's talent up and down the pitch in that squad. And yeah, I think if anything, like I feel like a bit contradictory right now, because I've said about the Portuguese league needs to put respect on it or whatever, but the surprise package for me were Sporting in that group. I didn't expect them to do I expected them to play, but I didn't expect them to put the performances in that they did. They played with their hearts on their sleeve in all 6 games, and it's admiring, to watch it as a neutral, really, because like, look, this competition means nothing to us until next season. But like, I just feel that I feel like that Sporting, they weren't just there just to make up the numbers like Celtic and Rangers. They were there because they genuinely believed that they could do something with it, and they gave it a go. This close to doing something and making something happen. So fair play to them. It's it because of the tightness of the group. It made it arguably the most exciting group.
I think that the thing for me, guys, if I'm being really honest, is from a Spurs perspective, a Spurs fan perspective, I thought all 3 of those teams, other than Tottenham, I thought they all gave a really good account of themselves. I thought at times they all played some lovely football. They had a lot of possession. I just felt that all 3, there just wasn't that oomph. I mean, last night, Marseille should have buried us. Let's be fair. Watching Marseille should have buried us. When we played Frankfurt in the first half the other week, Frankfurt and Lisbon, when we both played in the first half, they should have been home and dry. But look, that's football, right? So I want to talk about who Spurs can get. From a Spurs fan perspective, there's going to be a lot of Spurs fans in this chat at the moment. And tell me, Spurs fans, who you want to get. This is who Tottenham can get, okay? We can get PSG. We can get Dortmund. We can get Leipzig, Milan, Inter Milan, and Club Brugge.
Mm.
If you're a Tottenham fan, obviously I know you boys are Arsenal, but if you're a Tottenham fan, is there anyone there you'd want and anyone there you'd specifically want to avoid? Is PSG the obvious one to avoid?
If I was a Tottenham fan, I would want Leipzig.
Really?
Because they travel badly.
Right.
They travel.
They did
very
win 4-0
badly.
away from home today, though.
Yeah, but it's yeah, but like you got to think, yeah, but there's reason behind that. They'll play.
I wish Spurs travelled that badly.
They'll play against Shakhtar Donetsk.
Yeah, they do usually.
And Shakhtar don't play in Ukraine. You know, it's a neutral. It's a neutral stadium for them.
Yeah.
You know, so therefore it might as well be a away game for them. They're not able to do bits. So Leipzig historically don't travel well in Europe. I'll say in Europe historically. They've only been a club for 12 years. You know, yeah,
they've got attacking talent though.
They
They
really have, and they've got midfield still, and they've got decent players at the back. But I just don't know what it is. It's almost like a rabbit in headlights when they get into the European stage and when they go on tour. I've got a feeling that they're going to play. I've got a feeling that Spurs have got Inter in the next round, just for that. You know, UEFA love to make things happen. Look already what we've seen so far with Dortmund and Dortmund and City, with Bayern and Barca.
Right.
The next one on the cards is Inter. Is the Conte derby in it?
I don't want them. I'll be really honest. I don't want Inter. When I watched them play Barcelona twice, and I thought, oh, you can play. Like they set up really, really well. And I think there's so many frailties in this Tottenham team. And look, of course you'll get fans. Trust me, in a minute, you'll see a comment from a guy called Party After Party talking about how we're going to get to the semis and how we're guaranteed this, guaranteed that. So far, we haven't played anyone of note. I'll be really honest. I don't think we've played anyone of note. And we haven't beaten the best. Do you know the best team we've beaten on paper this season? It's Fulham. It's the best team we've beaten on paper this season, and it is. That's just a fact. So I think from my point of view, I'm looking at Bruges, and that's no disrespect, but if you get Bruges and get knocked out over two legs, questions have to be asked about a lot of things.
Mate, if you do get Bruges, what an away day that is. Bruges is such a great night out. Such a great night out, honestly. So many little boozes.
Yeah. The thing about Bruges, and we said this because obviously when we did the Bundesliga show, we did it with our good friend Florian, who's a Leverkusen fan. And we spoke, and I said Bruges have done some decent business in the summer. You know, the young lad they got from Barcelona is banging in goals for fun. You know, they got Tejan Buchanan, who I've been a big fan of since his days in the MLS with New England. He's a rapid winger. They've got some players there who can hurt you. And I think that they will fancy themselves against anyone because they're going to be the underdogs. No one's going to expect them to win anything. That's a dangerous tie. It's a dangerous tie because they're like, screw it, we'll just go for it. So, you know what I mean? On paper, you'd want them. But I think I'll go with Gav. I think a Leipzig or someone who's a little bit more seasoned, who probably have a little bit more expectations and pressure on them. Someone like that, I probably want to go for.
Let me ask this, Devo. I mean, if we're looking at what Bill's comment here, you know, Spurs aren't the greatest at the back. The fact that only Everton have conceded more shots at their goal this season than Tottenham. The fact that I think there's 9 or 10 teams with a better backline than Spurs in the Premier League statistically. Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe running at Eric Dyer, Sessegnon, Royale. I just can't imagine.
That wouldn't be fair. It literally like, make it stop. Make it stop.
I can't imagine.
You know what Messi's like against English teams as well. Loves it.
Yeah, he loves it.
You know what? I went to Wembley. I don't even know what year it is now. Was it 2022? It must have been 2018, maybe 2017. I can't even remember. And Barcelona beat us 4-2. And Lionel Messi honestly, I've never, ever in the flesh seen a player, not just, we all know how good he is, but just dictate a game. You know, when like, it was like, give the ball to Messi, he'll decide whether he wants the tempo to slow down, speed up, dribble with it, pass it. Honestly, boys, it was scary. And I just feel PSG would rip through us at will. But do you think that would happen as well?
Yes.
Yeah. But the thing is with PSG, they'll probably give you a few chances at the other end if you can get up the pitch. Harry Kane is he's no slouch. If you can get Kane in the right areas, if you could get Son in the right areas, then I'd give Spurs a chance. You always have a chance because you've got those players, Son and Kane.
Yeah.
So I think PSG would probably look elsewhere for fixtures rather than Spurs. I don't think they'll be looking at Spurs saying, "Yeah, we want them."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you go into that tie without a Kane, then you're thinking, there's a point.
Yeah, we're due a Kane injury, aren't we? Every season he gets an injury, doesn't he? But the thing is as well, if you do play against PSG, I can't see Neymar playing because he's. Oh no, these games will be in March, won't they? Not February.
Yeah. These games
February when he's missing. Oh, that's fine. Neymar will be back in March, but he's normally missing in February, isn't he? Around his sister's birthday. And big up Greg Spurs, by the way. And yes, Bruges. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about this comment. What a double whammy. Okay. Let's move away from Tottenham and yeah, Bill. That the Messi performance at Wembley that night was I've never seen a player play like that. And by the way, yes, this is true. Yeah. They reckon.
Did he miss the World Cup?
No.
I've seen 6 weeks. I don't know how true that is.
I've seen 2 weeks with a protective mask. Just depends how the surgery goes in the next couple of days, but she'll be back. It could be back within 2 weeks.
Yeah. Let's look at a group that I think went exactly. I think my Alexa's going to talk. I just hate her, honestly. Honestly, I hate her.
Such a coward.
Whenever I ask her something, she doesn't respond, and when I don't need her to, like when I'm on a work call, she does. Let's go to Group G. Group G, I believe a group that we would have all called this at the beginning. City top, Dortmund second, Seville, Copenhagen. Any surprise in that? Anything at all?
Sevilla are playing the game. We all know what they're trying to do. It's like right, boys. Let's converge.
How do we get into Europa League?
Yeah.
How do we get in there?
Right. Okay. Let's down tools. Right. Okay. We're amongst where we're meant to be at. That's
they have been shocking this season, though. I think they're a few points above the relegation zone in La Liga. They've been shocking.
They've had it. They've changed managers as well, right?
They have, yeah.
Yeah, Lopetegui left, yeah.
I mean, in that group, look, Man City won it. We've got to say it, a canter, really. They won it by 5 points. I've watched it. I think they got off to 3 wins from 3. And then in the last 3 games I've seen them in the Champions League, they've just kind of rotated kids in, rotated their better players in and out. And it's kind of like they've played it at a walking pace, really. Still got the job done. Are they the real deal this year? When you factor in Haaland, does he make that? I know we touched on this last week, Devo, but Gav, does he swing it? If this is the chance for them to win it, because they haven't under Pep, does he tip the scales?
Yeah, his involvement does, but we all know what Pep does when it gets to the latter stages of the Champions League. It's like, why don't we try something different?
Right?
Why do that? We did it with Bayern. And he's doing it with City right now. Look at a couple of seasons ago when they lost to Lyon. It's like, let's mix it up a little bit. Why don't we play Bernardo Silva a little bit deeper and play without a striker? It's like, come on, man. Champions League final. We haven't got any defensive midfielders on the pitch. Like we've got Fernandinho and Rodri on the bench. It's like, no, let's play Gundogan as the holding midfield. What are you doing? Stick to what you know. Get the job done. Get the silverware. So, like on paper, City by far City and Bayern for me are the 2 best teams but
Not Madrid.
no, I don't think so. Man for man, I don't think so.
Okay, we'll come to Madrid a bit later.
Real third, maybe four favourites, man for man.
Which that just means they're going to win it. They always do.
Well, exactly. Real's pedigree puts them higher up, but man for man, it isn't for me. It's City and Bayern, but City will do something stupid in the quarters.
I don't think they will this year. I feel like he's just going to be clinical this year. Just really, really quickly. Party After Party is one of my favourite commentators ever in here. This is the same guy just now that said Spurs will easily get to the Champions League semi-final.
He's bantering.
He's got to be. I mean, let's be fair. City, when we talk about City are vulnerable, they dropped a couple of points. Let's break this down. They dropped points away at Copenhagen when they played an hour and a bit with 10 men and just looked like they weren't going out of second gear. And then against Dortmund, that was the game where they both knew a draw would get them through. And I don't know if any of you guys saw it. It was played like we both know we're going through if nothing happens in this game. And it was like they were both seemed to be happy with that. So I don't know if we'd say City look vulnerable. I mean, Spurs fans just do make me laugh. They're vulnerable, but Spurs are going to the semi-finals.
Don't read into that. Don't read into that. But City can be vulnerable at the back. They can be got at. If we look at just Premier League situations so far this season, Villa showed that they could be got at. Newcastle showed they could be got at. Arsenal last season showed they could have been got at. Spurs last season showed they could have been got at. Do you know what I mean?
Gav, isn't that? This is what I don't get. When people say they can be got at, any team in world football can be got at.
They can. But when you're playing against the best teams, you expect them to be able to be like, right, okay, let's shut up shop and let's do what we need to do just to make sure we could keep them at arm's length. But a bit like what Liverpool did, it would be more so the lesser teams that would do something because they've got nothing to lose. Like,
sure. You do realise this year
struggled a little bit.
You do realise this year in the league they're ahead of where they were last year in terms of points and ahead of where they were this time last year in terms of goals. And I think that what we have to remember is City tend to do this every year. They don't. Everyone seems to think they start the season with 15 wins out of 15. They never do. In the first 10 games of the season, they always drop a couple of games, always. But they're, for me, the only team capable in this league, other than Liverpool in the last few years, that can go, right, come on, guys, let's sort this out. 12, 15 games in a row where they win. But I truly believe anyone can be got at. Don't quote the invincible.
It's more like the talent. It's the vulnerable talent that they have in air quotes in defense, and they do like to mix it up a lot. You know, Laporte ain't the player that he was before. Like the one that we were like, hold on a minute, he's the best defender since sliced bread. Ruben Diaz had that great season. Like when he first came in, it was like, wow, we have got a Rolls Royce centre half, and then last season wasn't all that. Left back, they've got issues. You know, right back, they have issues to a degree as well. So I get what people are saying when people are saying City are vulnerable. You know, so yeah,
but I
think
think
it depends on what they do in the middle of the park.
I think if we look at that then, Devo, I think the one thing for me is when a team play football the way City play, the same as the way Barcelona played, you're seeing a common denominator with Pep there. They're always going to be susceptible on the break because they have so many bodies forward. They're not a team that attack with 3 men. They're a team that they'll have 7 or 8 of their players camped in your half, including their fullbacks, which does mean if you can get at them, they're going to be vulnerable. I think the problem is for most teams is how many games a year are they actually got at? Do you know what I mean? How many games do they actually end up losing because they can be got at?
I think for me, you have to look at their defensive record. If you go over the last few years, Man City have always been amongst the best defensive records in the league. Ederson's won Golden Glove a few times. I think when you get your chances against City, you have to take them. That's what it comes down to, because you're probably not going to get that many because A, they don't give you the ball. B, if you get the ball out of the pitch and you start, thinking, bloody hell, we might get a goal. If you lose it, chances are it's going to be up your end in the next 3 seconds, and you're you're a goal down. So I think when you say they're vulnerable, that vulnerability can lead you into vulnerability because you're thinking, I'm here, and then you come out, and next thing you know, you're 3-0 down. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a dangerous game with City because they're not defensively frail. They have one of the best defensive records in the league.
That's because they attack from the front, though, isn't it? Like they defend from the front.
If you can't get
they're
them,
pressing high.
You can't score a goal.
But this is what Liverpool were doing. Do you know what I mean? Like if your front line are pressing, that's your first line defense nailed down to a T. And this is where, like, for argument's sake, like Man United have not been doing so well. There's such a disparity between the midfield and the defense at Man United, which allowed them to look so open and vulnerable. And people like using players like Maguire as a scapegoat. Like defensively for Man United, because no one else was doing that work. Like the defense had to come out and put pressure on, leaving more gaps. Whereas, you know, City are more structured. Liverpool were more structured. You know, Arsenal so far this season are more structured because the press is coming. Like the first line defense is actually doing its job, and then there is still someone back who's able to clean up and sweep up if necessary.
But the thing is as well. I mean, if we talk about their vulnerability at the back, if you look at the Premier League this year after 13 games. There's only one team that's conceded less goals than them, and that's Newcastle.
Yeah.
And half the goals they've conceded came in 2 games of football. So that tells you that, you know, other than those 2 games where they conceded 5, that this, for me, I feel like when people use these terms, they're vulnerable, they can be got at. If you actually break it down and look at the stats in that, you know, I think we're cherry picking a couple of occasions rather than. Like, we're picking the you know the tip of the iceberg rather than the bit the bit that's under the water, if that makes sense. I'm sure there was a better analogy somewhere in there, but this is my point. Like, we talk about this a lot. Like, somebody said to me the other day, City aren't as good as last year. They're not playing as good a football. They don't score as many. But that's not true. Like, when you look at the goals they've scored this year, they've got 37 goals in 12 games of football. Right? If you work that out over a season, if they continued that form, I'm now going to shoot myself in the that's 90. That's over 120 league goals. Yeah. That's ridiculous. They got 99.
And the thing is, it doesn't seem like they've come out a second year. This is what you going back to what you were saying earlier. Right. You know, there's another year of them. So they've done all of that, scored 37 goals in 12 games, but you know. Give them another 3-4 games when they find their stride. They could quite easily, you know, win 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games in a row.
That's the thing.
They're out of sight.
That's the thing. I mean, we'll move away from City now, but I do always find it funny that people come out with these sentiments, like in the people in the chat, they're vulnerable, and it's like, oh, are they? I mean, lots of the time when I watch them, they have like 89% of the ball and score 4 goals in a game, but we pick on the 1 goal they might have conceded. Let's go to the group of death. I mean, this group was, I think a lot of people thought it was going to be a lot closer than this. You've got Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Barca, and Plzeň. Now, I can't believe that Barcelona only won 2 of their 6 games. I can't believe that Bayern won it by 8 points. Were you guys expecting that? Would you have expected it to be a little bit closer than that?
I could believe both. Because this is now the third time. Yeah, this is the 3rd time, is it now? That Bayern have won 6 from 6. Man, they're steamrollers, man. Everyone's like, oh yeah, what could they do without Lewandowski? Well, just goes to show that they are actually a complete team. You know what I mean? And Xavi.
Sorry, Gav, can I be really rude and stop you there? Is that all right? Yeah. I've just got to answer. When I see stupidity, I have to answer it. I'm so sorry. Sorry, this comment irks me so much. They're too dependent on Haaland scoring. Their goals aren't being spread around like past City teams. Again, this is one of those statements where you've not gone and done your homework. You're just talking. I have it in front of me, right? And I know off the top of my head, Erling Haaland scored 17 Premier League goals, right, guys? 17?
Yeah.
That means City, across the rest of the team, have got 20. That means they've shared 20 Premier League goals around the rest of their team. To put this in perspective, 20 Premier League goals is more than 14 of the Premier League teams have scored combined. So, when we're saying they're too dependent, you've got to know that's a fact rather than coming at me with hard. Gav, do you know what this is like?
I love when people just drop hard facts.
Mate, listen. This is like in the summer, Gav, when we talked and when all these people get coming in the chat telling us, do you remember Haaland? It'll be lucky if he gets 12 to 15 in year one. And you're going, what are you talking about? That's what this is. It's monster, sensationalism, party after party. You have Google, you have football apps the same way I do. Stop. If you took Erling Haaland's goals away, they've scored more than 14 other league teams. Sorry, Gav. I'm so sorry. I have to fight this. As you were.
That's fine. I would have just let him believe that. Let him believe what he wants.
No, man, I can't. I just don't like. I don't like when people put things as fact and it's completely infactual. I hate it. It just irks on me.
No, sorry. I hear it. But it's weird. It's almost like all the team talks over the last 2 seasons for Barcelona in the Champions League were done. Like prior to the last 2 seasons, all of them were done by Messi, because since Messi's left, they've only won 3 Champions League group games.
Yeah,
and that's bad. Now, that's not on Xavi. That is on leadership from the players, because Xavi will go out there and do a job and tell them what they need them to do. Because if you look at their league form, people are making out like Barcelona are dead food at the moment. Barcelona are second. They've only lost 1 game so far this season.
They're miles above the team in third as well. Yeah,
we'll get that information for you right now, Gav. So Barcelona are a point behind Real Madrid.
Yeah,
and they've conceded.
Real dropped points at the weekend. They lost. They drew 1 each with Girona.
But Barcelona have conceded 4 goals in 12 games in the league.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. They're not a bad side.
Okay, so what's happened?
You know what I think it is
in the Champions League?
I think it is. I think they're a youthful side in the Champions League, and you know, Inter Milan are no slouches. They're a very good side in their own right, and Bayern are Bayern. You know, Bayern Munich are bullies. Is what they do. They just batter you into submission. And as Gav said, this is the 3rd season in the last few years where they've won all 6 of their group games. And Bayern are always in and amongst the quarterfinalists, semi-finalists. So to lose against them is no embarrassment. I think Barcelona being in Europa League, I think, will actually be a good thing for some of the young players in that side. And for Xavi, I think they will go into that strong favourite to lift it. And if they have a deep run in that, 100%. They're amongst the favourites.
Yeah, 100%.
Everyone in the chat, tell us in the chat who's your favourite to win the Europa League. I mean, who have you got in there? I mean, Ajax have just dropped down into it.
Ajax.
Sorry, who's that team?
Juventus have gone in there. I'm just talking about the Champions League sides who have dropped out. So Juve have gone in there. If they turn things around, come by the time the actual tournament kicks off again.
Yeah,
that's a powerhouse of European football, isn't it? Barca.
Ajax are in there. Leverkusen. Sporting. I think Sporting are going to be a force to mess with.
Are Roma still in it?
They did.
Who? Are Roma in there?
Are they playing tomorrow night?
They're playing tomorrow night. I'll be able to get
they are.
in a second. Sevilla.
I always get mixed up with who's in that and who's in the Conference League.
Yeah,
Roma are in it.
I've got the groups here for the Europa League. I can rattle through those very quickly. Arsenal, PSV guaranteed through.
Fenerbahce
and Rennes. Betis are definitely through. Roma have got a tough game tomorrow to try and make sure they get through, because at the moment it's them or Ludogorets.
Who are they playing tomorrow? So they're right. So it's them or Ludogorets, and it's Roma at home to Ludogorets. Okay.
Oh yeah. So Roma, they need to better the Ludogorets score.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Union Berlin and Braga, they'll be playing off to try and get through with Union Saint-Gilloise, who everyone was laughing at, but they're actually a pretty good side from Belgium. United and Sociedad. Anybody from Group F.
Yeah.
Stuart Gratz, Feyenoord and Midtjylland, any of those could go through or drop out. Freiburg are through, have Karabag or Nantes, and then Varos, they're definitely through. Monaco and Trabzonspor. So like, there's not. Let's be real. Of these teams in the Europa League that are already in it at the moment, Monaco, you can have a conversation about. A very distant conversation about Freiburg. A conversation about Man United, a conversation about Arsenal or PSV. It's the teams that are coming from the is right.
I'm still in, mate.
It'll be the teams from the Champions League. One of those teams will be the ones that will come down and do something, in my opinion.
We haven't spoke about Sevilla, obviously. Sevilla.
Oh, I forgot. Sevilla, of course.
Sevilla got one hand on the couple, haven't they?
I mean, let me ask you boys then, just quickly before we go back to the Champions League and to the proper football. Do you boys give Arsenal any chance of winning it? Have you got a deep enough squad as the season goes on?
100%. For me, before Barcelona and those guys dropped into it, I'd put us down as the favourites.
Really?
When I said that before Paul was kicked in that competition, we have decent pedigree in this competition. Aside from that freak loss against Olympiacos, we've got to the semi-finals or better pretty much every year we've been in it.
Yeah.
So I would see, with the talent we have in our squad, again, it does depend on the draw, but I would see us as amongst the favourites. I think the talent said in the comments, us, Barcelona, Man United, and I think Juve must be the favourites.
I think the talent and the mentality this year is different. I mean, like, just say if we were to get a couple of injuries, which everyone's expecting us to get, and I understand it, I think the mentality is a little bit different this year. Like, in order, I'm not saying to win it, but to get to the very latter stages. I think, like, even Samuel Congo has been able to do a few jobs in there, because I think if Thomas Partey, when he's not playing, it shows that we are lacking in a defensive midfield position. We lost one game so far in the league, in the league, that was against Man United, who was missing Thomas Partey. He's so important to what we're doing.
There is something different at Arsenal this year. I mean, I hate to say it as a Spurs fan, and what makes me laugh, and guys, you know, I'm the least biased football fan in the world, and I pride myself on that. Every show I did in the summer, it was, right, guys, who's going to get top four? Who are our challengers for top four this year? And it was, Arsenal. They're so far in our rearview mirror. They're crap. They're poor. Arteta's terrible. We've got Conte. 13 games in, all right? It's only, 12. You've played 12, right? 12, 13 games in. It's not quite panning out that way, is it? You know, you're not only quite away. What are you, 5 points above us at the moment?
Yeah,
is that right? 5, with a game in hand, yeah.
Five with a game in hand. You're also
that game in hand against City, though.
Yeah, but mate, listen. At the moment, you're 5 points above us. I think a lot of people underestimated Arsenal. But listen, we'll come to the Premier League stuff in a minute. I just want to quickly round off the Champions League stuff, if that's all right, guys. Group F. I don't think there's too much to talk about. I mean, we all expected Real Madrid to go through with Leipzig, Donetsk, and Celtic, right? We all expected them to.
I thought Celtic. I had an outside bet. Celtic might win that group.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did, Devo. Yeah. There's a sex chat. There's some beautiful girls here, and now they're going to be banned.
There you go, Greg Spurs. Greg Spurs, get on it, mate.
Go on, Greg. Guys, I mean, look, Real Madrid do what Real Madrid do, right? Sometimes I watch them and I think they look awful. Other times I watch them and they're powerful and they're explosive. But this is where they start coming to their own, isn't it? The kind of knockout stages, no one's going to want Real Madrid over two legs, are they? Having to go to the Bernabeu?
No. No one wants the Real Madrid in Champions League. We joke about Sevilla in the Europa League, but Real Madrid really are about that Champions League life. They just know how to navigate the competition. So, and you'd expect them to be in the last four, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, so people saying Arsenal haven't won a European trophy. I think they need to go to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But we've
Finalists
bottled every
and
final. We've
obviously,
bottled every final since then. We
mate,
lost in
we
'95. We lost in 2000. We lost in
Oh, don't-
2006.
yeah,
Don't talk about bottling
Devo,
finals.
sorry.
I'm a
2019.
Spurs fan. It's
Well, at least we get to the finals, isn't it?
it's
Someone
in our
said in the
DNA.
chat earlier about Freiburg and Union Berlin, Rooksy Pop. Big up yourself, by the way, Rooksy Pop. And the reason why I say that is because you clearly watch Bundesliga football. And if you do, this is a shameless plug. Give us a follow. MAD Sports Network. Or if you want to just listen instead, put in the Bundesliga show into Spotify or onto your main podcast provider, and we have a show that comes out weekly. We do it live on a Monday at 10 p.m. and it's available on Spotify and major podcast providers from about 11 o'clock that night.
That was a shamelessly long plug. But yeah, go over and follow these guys. And Rooksy Pop is a Schalke fan.
Mate.
Don't watch our show.
Don't watch the show. Don't watch the show.
So, we've got. Let me just go through a quick few comments. So we've got Ken 11 has said Lua is going to destroy the Europa League. I mean, that Lewandowski scores goals in whatever competitions he's in. Just Fly has said, think Arsenal and Spurs season is all about what we do in the January window. I think you could say that for anyone at the top there, right? Party After Party said that Arsenal will fall off the World Cup. Steve MC says the biggest problem will be if Arsenal lose 2 or 3 of Partey, Zinchenko and Jesus. They all mask Xhaka, inverted left back and false 9 dropping into Graft. Okay, we'll talk about Arsenal in a bit more detail later. Moving on from Real Madrid. If we look at it, the only other group to really talk about of any note would have been the Napoli Liverpool group. Are we surprised that Ajax finished so far back? I mean, you've got Napoli on 15, Liverpool on 15, Ajax on 6. Are we surprised?
Yeah, a little bit, because you'd always fancy Ajax in Holland, in Amsterdam. You'd always fancy them to pick up a couple wins there. So yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that. But I mean, I don't think anyone could have seen how good Napoli would be at the beginning of the season. So in context, no, not that surprised, because Napoli have just been all conquering, albeit, yes, Liverpool beat them yesterday. But it was kind of a nothing game, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm a bit surprised by Ajax.
Yeah. So listen, when you're looking at that group, I think most people would have had, at the beginning of the season, would have had Liverpool down to win that, right? And I think it shows how well Napoli have done. What's worrying for me is that Liverpool haven't been informed. And what I say by that is I'm not a Liverpool fan by any stretch of the imagination, but they're thereabouts. And Liverpool are never an easy game over 2 legs because no one wants to go. When we talk about the Bernabeu, Anfield just turns into this huge fortress, doesn't it, on Champions League nights? Could this be their saving grace this season? I mean, they're miles off the league. There's no way they're going to catch Liverpool and Arsenal and City now. Could this be their saving grace?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what they do over the next couple of months in terms of, where will they be? How far away will they be behind the top 1, top 2? Because Liverpool put a lot of pressure on City last year. They were 14 points behind at one point, and then next thing you know, there was times where they could have they could have won the league on the last day of the season. So it's never over till it's over. But if they're a good, say, 10, 12 points off, come when it comes around to the last 16, they've just, I wouldn't say down tools in the league, because you still need to guarantee you playing Champions League football for next season. But all the eggs should, I'd expect, go into the basket of the Champions League. And they might have to, as you said, rely on their Champions League exploits in order to get European football next year.
Yeah, it's a tough one with Liverpool, isn't it? They've got some top players. I feel like they're very much in transition this year. And I think for them, what's important is not only going on a good Champions League run, but they've got to somehow, by hook or crook, get in that top 4, haven't they? Because if they're talking about buying the likes of Jude Bellingham, etc., Jude Bellingham's not going to go to a club in the Europa League, is he? All due respect.
Yeah, but then you got to think Pogba left Juve to join Man United. Yeah, he'd been there before. I understand that, but United weren't playing Champions League football at that point. When you are a big club like that, I don't think it really matters whether you're playing Champions League football right now, as long as you've got ambition to be playing in there the following season.
But Gav, how many, if Bellingham goes on this market, it's not going to be just Liverpool going in for him, is it? There's going to be. I can imagine every top club in world football is going to look at Jude Bellingham and go, "There you go, that's our midfielder for the next decade." But look, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, look, we've said this before about teams; they're too good not to get it. But at the moment, they're struggling to put a run of form together. And luckily for them, they've got Dr. Tottenham at the weekend. So we'll see how
I can't call this game. I can't call it because Liverpool concede first all the frigging time. Tottenham concede first all the frigging time. So is this 0-0? Or is it going to be 5-5? And if so, who's going to score?
Where is it?
It's
at
Anfield. Spurs, but we've got...
then I reckon Spurs will win it.
Mate, listen, I think the thing that worries me is, first of all, how we're playing is just absolutely shocking. 2, we've got this habit of playing other teams back into form. And 3, we've got Son out, I think, and Kulu and Richarlison still out. So you've got Kane.
I thought Kulu was on his way back.
Mate, I've got another week or so. He might have to...
I'm not sure
before, but...
You're going to have to play Perisic on the wings.
Yeah. I mean, let's be fair. At the moment, Perisic can do no worse than Son. Son has been... Let's flip to the Premier League now, boys. Let's flip to the Premier League. Let's start with this game then. Let's start with Tottenham-Liverpool coming up this weekend. Normally, this is two teams that are... normally Liverpool are above Tottenham. And this is a huge game for us from that perspective. But this has now become a bigger game for them because as it stands... Tottenham are, hold the line please callers, as it stands, Spurs are on 26 points, Liverpool on 16. If Spurs win this game, we get a 13-point gap. Now,
Liverpool could find themselves in the bottom half of the Premier League at the end of this match day. L-O friggin' L.
Yeah. But then flip that. I'm sitting on the fence here, not a Spurs fan for this show. Flip that. If they beat us... Yeah, they're now 7 points behind us with a game in hand, and that's the fine margins in football, right? This is a huge game for them because I think if they lose this game, and Man United win at the weekend, for them to go to 26 points, they're then 10 points off top 4, and 13 points behind third.
Yeah,
this is a conversation that we're having the other week when Liverpool beat Man City the other week. Everyone was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, they're back now. They're going to be doing this. They're going to be doing that." There's too many vulnerabilities at Liverpool right now. The players aren't playing the way that they want to. They're like defensively, they look quite frail. They can't find a balance in midfield. So much so that, when they played against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, they effectively played a 4-2-4, and that got founded out. They haven't got a consistent front line. I still don't rate Darwin Nunez. I come on your show in the summer. I spoke about it with friends in the summer in the past because Arsenal got linked with him. I was like, I don't want him. Man United fans Man United got linked with him. They're like, yeah, buzzing. I don't see the allure. He is literally the Uruguayan Bas Dost. Mate, he is awful.
He
scores goals, though.
He's scoring goals. The thing is, the issue with him is that he's not a typical Liverpool striker in the mold of the system that Klopp had, which has been successful for 3-4 years. Nunez doesn't fit that system, so they're having to try to adapt to fit him in.
Ball's
and you've seen it's affected. You see, it's affected Salah. Salah doesn't look the same player. Firmino's looked great this season, but he keeps being dropped outside, which for me is crazy. If the guy's on form, playing. Jota's been in and out with injuries, and it's just something's not clicking there for Liverpool. That front three, which used to be so fearsome, Mane, Firmino, Salah, used to dig them out of holes. Let's be honest. those three used to dig my holes. They're not there
It's
now.
all about the midfield.
Transition though, Dev. It's transition for them at the moment, right? I mean, I think what we're guilty of as football fans is everyone's saying, "Oh my God, so and so isn't as good as Mane," for example. But I think what they're trying to do, they've not bought a Mane replacement. What they've bought in Diaz and Nunez, they're very different players to Mane. You know, I think they're trying to evolve. I think he's trying to do something different now. I think he realised he's probably got to the stage where it's a bit predictable, right? Same way I think Son and Kane have become a bit predictable in terms of how they play. That's why this season, I mean, I was completely wrong. At the beginning of the season, I thought they'd be second easily. I was wrong on that. But I do feel that once these players bed in, Harvey Elliott's is kind of being blooded this year. Fabio Carvalho's being blooded. We're seeing more of Tsimikas. I think once they get another midfielder, if they're talking about the likes of Bellingham, I think they'll be back. But to your point, Gav, as a striker, Darwin Nunez will turn around and go, I've got 7 goals in all competitions in, was it 720 minutes or some ridiculous stat like that. He's scoring goals.
This is where stats don't prove everything. It's what pisses me off, right?
But as a striker, they surely, as a centre forward.
This is what I'm saying. He's Literally the Uruguayan Bas Dost. Bas Dost scored like 40-odd goals in like 60-odd appearances, and 95% of those like bounced off him, or it was like a tap in or whatever. It's like, yeah, but he's scoring goals. Who cares? You're Liverpool Football Club. That's not what you want to see. And Liverpool fans will literally use that stat that you just used against me there to say, oh yeah, he's doing it, to just justify how badly they've been playing this season. Because if you are on Twitter or on any social media as these games are going live, regardless of what he's doing, he's getting cussed out left, right, and centre because he's not that great. And the amount of money that they've spent on him, you know, it's going to take some time for him to adjust. I'm fully aware of that, but he's not a great striker. And I watched him a lot last season. It's a difficult one because 50% of the time he was in the right place, right time. But the other 50% of the time, you see a lot of the goal and the assist that he got against Fulham opening day of the season. He got an assist. He got credited with an assist. It's deflected off him and landed in Salah's path.
But Gav,
I'm sorry, that isn't.
Gav, as a striker, right? If you've been bought as a striker, forget the price tag. The price tag is not his fault.
Okay,
right?
that's fair enough. But then performances. Let's talk about performances.
Hang on. Let me get to my point, right? If we're talking about fans talk about price tags, right? We can't control that. That's something for us to talk about. We can't control that. The player can't control it. Like Grealish has said, you can call me £100 million player. I didn't choose that. I didn't want that pressure on me, right? Darwin Nunez, he will turn around and go, well, okay, they've bought me to score goals. I am scoring goals. I am scoring goals more often than I'm not scoring goals. Now, I'm not sticking up for him. I don't think he's the world's best player or anything like that. But as a striker, that is surely what he's been bought to do. Plus, in a very up and down Liverpool team, it's not like he's joined a team that are playing brilliantly, winning week in, week out, and he's not scoring goals. Surely there's got to be some credit there for him, no?
No. I'm sorry.
No, come on, man.
I think it's a little bit more. There's caveats to it, because I think, yes, he's doing his job, but I think him being in there and the type of player that he is costing them other chances that they probably would have had, that others like Salah or Mane would have buried. Where he's not a direct replacement for Mane, no, but Mane probably would have got you a similar goal return. Plus, he probably would have created another 8 or 9 clear-cut chances for his teammates.
Yeah, but that's not Nunez's fault, is it, Dev?
No, it's not. It's not.
The system they play and how it's different to when Mane was there is not Darwin Nunez's fault. Nunez being bought as a central striker and is scoring goals. But what makes me laugh about this is we will now talk about players who have got less goals than him this season and are getting raved about.
But they're adding more value to the game. And that's what I'm getting at.
He's just centre forward.
He's doing his job. He's doing his job.
No, but his decision making is still poor. His decision making is poor. You know me. I don't have any. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I don't hold bias to things.
course you don't. I know, but
1,000,000% rather have Jesus there, because he is putting pressure on. Like, I will literally, I could think of 2 positive things. 2, yeah, no, 1.5 positive things that Darwin Nunez has done this season, in my opinion. One of them was against Leeds, where he lost the ball in his own 18-yard box, and he came back. He pegged it all the way back and took man out in order to evade the danger that Leeds were putting onto Liverpool at the time. I thought that was brilliant. It's like, yeah, as a striker, you should be scoring goals. No, you should be going, like, you're one of the 11 players out there. You should all be working tirelessly.
Yeah,
we see Kane do that sort of stuff going back.
That's not true,
and doing that work.
That's not true.
Why is it not true?
That's not true, because every manager has a different style. Every manager has a different way of playing. If you're buying a Darwin Nunez, it's the same as if you're buying a Belotti, right? If you're buying a striker who is a centre forward that isn't typically going to run the channels, isn't going to typically work back, you are buying them to score goals.
The other movement, the other positive, which I'll add, is the goal against Arsenal, where he was able to squeeze between the 2 centre halves and get himself on the back of that. That was nice. But I think his positioning on the whole is poor. I think his first touch is abysmal. I think his decision making is shocking. Honestly, like, I had a bet on at the beginning of the season. Some dude came into the boozer and was like, "Oh, Darwin Nunez is going to score X amount of Premier League goals." I was like, "How much do you want on it?" He was like, £100. I was like, "Let's make it 200." He goes, "No, just make it 100. Just make it 100." And
I've got a question.
I'm asking for a payout, because
I'm going to ask you both a question then. If this season, in all competitions for Liverpool, he gets 20 goals in his first season, right, in a Liverpool team that have not started well, right, that are win 1, lose 1, draw 1, is that a bad return?
No, I think that's good. I think what you have to remember as well.
That's not stats.
His job is
as
to
a
score
striker,
goals.
your job is to score goals.
You're judged by the goals you score. You're a goal scorer. That's what you're judged by.
Dev, this is where I think it's unfair. This is where I think it's unfair, right?
How many times have we slagged off Firmino? We say he's a striker, he doesn't score goals, he's judged on goals. Right. And now we're looking at Nunez and he's scoring goals and we're judging him on everything else. It's
mad.
It's
mad.
Bobby
Firmino is not he's not a striker. He's not Bobby Firmino is a Thomas Muller in terms of style of player. In terms of style of player.
Devo's playing as a striker.
But Devo's point, whether we're talking about Firmino or not, the point is, if Darwin Nunez had come in and hadn't scored a single goal in any appearance, right, I get it. But when you're looking at the number of minutes he's played, the number of goals he's scored, that's what you bought him for. You bought the man to score goals. You don't buy Darwin Nunez to do the things that you buy Gabriel Jesus to do. They're not the same player. Otherwise, Liverpool would have bought Gabriel Jesus. That's why I think it's really unfair. Like, how can a player
moving on Firmino? I reckon it would make more sense to go get Jesus, to be honest.
They haven't got that kind of sway to get Jesus. You need to have a little insider like Arteta.
Look, end of the day, look.
Let's move away from.
I'm not trying to sway your guys' mindset into mine. I'm not at all. You give your opinion. I'll give mine. Darwin Nunez ain't the guy, in my opinion. For everything that I've seen, for the amount of Premier League football I was watching last season, because it's available for us to watch on these shores legally. I was on BT Sport, and they only ever show games that are involving Benfica, Sporting or Porto. So we're able to watch him week in, week out. It's like, we scored again. What's happened? Oh yes, it's bounced off him. Great.
I'm sorry. I just feel that this falls to me, right? This falls to me. This is one of them conversations where when people don't like a player, we use anything and everything but what their job is to have a go at them. Hang on, hear me out. Hear me out. Gav, hear me out. Hang on, you haven't let me finish. You've got to hear me out, right? Look, I'm gonna show you a selection of 3 or 4 comments which prove my point. First and foremost, how many of the Darwin goals would mean something, though? He's scoring goals when his team were already leading. Sorry, when has this ever been a thing?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Gav, let me.
No, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one, Sava. But this is what I'm sort of getting at, like, because like in history, it will go down in history that Harry Kane won the Golden Boot in World Cup 2018.
Right,
club penalties and a deflection.
But hang on, let me get to my point, and I'll get there. Let me get to it. Right, how many strikers, if you really broke it down over the year, you could say how many of their goals meant something? Well, every goal means something, because whether or not it wins a game, whether or not it does something for your goal difference at the end of the season, it means something. Then you've got this one I agree with. So would you rather have a striker that scored 10 screamers or 25 average ones? Then you've got how many points has Nunez won Liverpool this season? It's like, well, Liverpool are not playing well as a team. It's not all on one player. And then party after party, who every comment he makes I just find baffling. Nunez was brought to help Liverpool title challenge. He hasn't lived up to his price tag. I mean, can we put Liverpool's lack of a title challenge on Darwin Nunez alone? Really?
Not alone, but there's a little bit of sense in that.
Is there?
In the way that no, but hear me out. In the way that his signing, and it's like Klopp's trying to change the system to accommodate an out-and-out striker, which is something they never had before, and the system was working. I'm not saying it's Nunez's fault. He's scoring the goals when he's playing, but the system has obviously changed, and that's diminished the impact of Salah. It's diminished the impact of Jota when he's been fit. Obviously, you have other aspects of that. Diaz's injury, the fact that players like Harvey Elliott and Fabio Carvalho are young and need to be blooded in, the injuries to defenders and stuff like that. But I feel like part of the attacking impetus that Liverpool had when they had that system of Firmino, Mane, Salah, even Jota when he came in, is having to change because they've now got an out-and-out striker in the Darwin Nunez who isn't doing the things that those other forward players were doing. I'm not saying that it's his fault. I agree with you, Salah. He's doing his job. But it's the impact of him being there on the other players around him. I think
but that's not why they're not challenging for the title. They've got problems at the back. They've got massive problems in midfield. I feel like
we have to count on that front three to dig them out. That's the thing.
We do this every year. We do this to somebody. Somebody's bought for a lot of money, and it's their fault. Their team's not doing anything, and it's like I just feel sometimes we judge very quickly on a player. And listen, all I'm saying is if he gets 20 goals in all competitions this year, the man's going to turn around and go, "I've done my job. I've done my job." He'll turn around and go, "Well, hang on, those boys at the back, their defending's been shocking. Trent Alexander-Arnold, shocking. Van Dijk's been shocking. Fabinho, Henderson, these players." But listen, let's move off of Darwin Nunez. The actual game itself, Spurs, Liverpool, quickly. It feels like Spurs have got lots of injury problems at the moment. If I was Liverpool, I'll be honest, I'm taking my Spurs hat off. If I was Jurgen Klopp, I would be getting into my boys and saying, these guys start games terribly. Go out there and I would just attack them. I would attack Spurs because we are shocking in first half of games. Would you do something similar if you were playing Tottenham?
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to make sure you're 2-3 out of sight because, as we know, Spurs finish games strongly. So you've got to make sure that you got to make sure that you bury them because they seem to somehow have this knack of no matter if it's 2 goals down or 1 goal down or whatever, they'll find a way to come back into it. So I think Klopp will look at that and think first half means a lot. Put the game to bed, and then just hold the nerve in the second half. Liverpool have been terrible away from home in the league for some time. So I've got a feeling Spurs win it.
I just think we've got too many injuries. I'm looking at it with if Romero's out, Richarlison, Kulusevski, Son. There's rumours that Bentancur's not going to be fit. We're into the realms now of the Ollie Skips, Sessegnons, Royals, Sanchez, Davis, Lucas Moura.
Might we see Jed Spence?
No, he won't play. He's making a massive point. He didn't want Jed Spence. He didn't want him. The thing is as well, we've got to say this season that Richarlison, we talk about our forwards being out at the moment, guys. But you know me again, I'm not biased. Richarlison's done absolutely nothing from an attacking perspective, and Heung-min Son has looked like a League One player. He's looked absolutely dreadful. So I'll take a draw. If I'm offered it right now, I'm taking a draw. I've got a feeling Liverpool are going to do to us what they did to Man City. I think they're going to turn up. I think they're going to turn up.
I'd love to see that personally, but I think Spurs win.
I mean, I said it on my radio show last week, and obviously I got left with egg on my face. But predominantly, if you do go a goal ahead against Spurs, you're good. You know, the last couple of games have made you think differently.
I agree.
But if Liverpool score first goal, that is, as far as I'm concerned, it's game over.
Do you know the difference? I think in terms of this year, we've been terrible in the first half of nearly every game. Now we've come back in a few games, but whenever we play anyone with good forwards and good attacking players, we don't. So when we played you lot, no. When we played Chelsea, when we played Man United, yeah. And I've got a feeling that Liverpool, whatever we're saying about their forwards, they've got firepower. They've got goals in them. And I think that's going to be the difference. We concede so many chances.
Yeah.
And that's a big worry. But let's move on to you boys. You boys have you've got a massive game, right? You're away at Chelsea on Sunday, which is 12 o'clock kickoff, I think. You are currently sitting top of the table, 2 points. You've got a game in hand on most teams. You're playing Chelsea, who have just been spanked 4-1. This is one of those games. You win this, you are 13 points clear of Chelsea. And for me, that kind of almost, I'm going to say it, I feel like almost guarantees you, even at this stage of the season, a kind of top 4 spot. You'd have to be horrendous the second half of the season to not get it. How do you guys feel about that?
It's a win here is a statement to the rest of the league, because every week pundits, fans, our own fans, rival fans, football fans in general are just waiting for the inevitable Arsenal downfall. And let's be honest, it's going to happen at some point. But it's how we bounce back. Like, I'll tell you where the mentality was shown. Losing to Man United and coming straight back. That showed a whole different type of resilience that Arsenal have got this season. Games where we've conceded a goal and then been able to bounce back. The Leicester game early on in the season. That would have been a typical Arsenal draw or L. Like, we've just conceded. Okay, a minute later, bosh, we're back in the lead. The Spurs game, it's 1-1. Oh, okay, what are we going to do now? Bosh, we're back on. We're back involved in it. Even that Man United game where we lost 3-1, we brought it back to 1-1, and we looked like we were going to do something. We were still in that game. Even when it went down to 3-1, we were still doing something. Old Arsenal capitulate. So we are seeing a different breed of Arsenal right now. If we could go to Stamford Bridge, where it's been a relatively happy stomping ground over the last couple of the seasons, if we could go there and get all 3 points, I really genuinely believe that people need to stand and take note of what Arsenal are about to do. If we lose the game, I still don't think it's going to be the worst thing in the world. We might relinquish our top spot for the first time this season, but even a draw, I still think going away to Stamford Bridge to pick up a point, or to get anything from Stamford Bridge, no matter what club you are, is a great result.
Yeah. I kind of echo that, but I think we have had some good results at Stamford Bridge. I think that was, for me, the result where we got there last year was kind of where you really saw what Arteta was doing with his side. For me, that was the statement within Arteta's reign up until that point, where you could see this is what he wants week in, week out from this team. And I think what we're doing this season is just kind of continued on from that. If we were to come away from this with 3 points, it would be a massive statement win, because, again, I'm much like you, Gav. I said it to you as well, Sava, last week. This is about getting top 4. Every win that we're putting down now is about putting a tighter grip on that top 4 finish. I'm not thinking we're going to win the league. I mean, obviously the fantasist in me is thinking, bloody hell, we're top of the league. Games, we're going to win the league. But realistically, it's about getting top 4. So I think beating Chelsea and becoming 13 points above them is a massive step towards that goal of qualifying for Champions League next year. There's too many narratives in this for me to think that we are going to win it, though. Aubameyang, Aubameyang's going to have some sort of input on this, and Sterling's been linked with Arsenal for a couple of times over the years. Ends up at Chelsea, he'll probably bag. So, yeah. I mean, I'll go for a draw.
It's going to be interesting because this is the sort of game that, I'm not saying you have to prove yourselves because you're top of the league, but this really does define it. Win this one, and I'm not saying because it's Chelsea, but win this, and the gap you start creating. Forget the gap to second because I think City will still win it, but the gap you start creating that you need to look at is to 5th at all times, isn't it? It's to 5th. And the bigger that gap is, at the moment, your gap to 5th is 8 points. Right, you beat Chelsea. It could be, depending on other results, you could be at 10 to 11 points, and that's where you want to be heading into the World Cup stage. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. Chelsea, I think they're still trying to find their feet under Potter. They've gone from a manager that played very pragmatic, sensible football to a manager that wants them to move the ball quick. And I watched a bit of their game tonight. And in the first half, you could see what they're trying to do, quick passing, one-touch stuff. But you could see that some of the players are just not used to doing that, and that's the difficulty with bringing in a manager that plays that kind of pressing, intense, one-touch football. But I think you'll get a point now. I think it will be a draw. I think you'll get a point.
What do you think about all these like multiple changes and like tactical changes with Chelsea? Well, I spoke about it earlier when you were asking us about Chelsea and like in the Champions League. But what do you think?
In terms of what Potter's doing,
what Potter's doing? Because like for instance today against Zagreb, they appear to be playing a 4 at the back.
Yeah.
They've played 3 at the back. They've played 4 at the back so far. 2 in midfield. They're playing wingers as fullbacks. What do you think about all the tinkering?
I think it probably tells you that it's a brand new manager that hasn't worked out his best 11, his best formation, and is currently playing with players that aren't his. And again, he hasn't had a pre-season. And I think if you don't have a pre-season, you're looking at them a game every 3 days. How much time does he have? So I think he's probably caught in 2 minds. He's probably very wary that he needs to give everyone a game. But I'm not a big fan of it. I feel that Xavi.
I like everyone's paid their subs. You know what I mean? We've got to go. Put your fiver in.
I feel like this is what Xavi does at Barcelona as well. You watch Barcelona and you just don't know what midfield free is it, what forward free, and all the best teams. Let's be fair. When you talk about Man City, they might rotate 1 or 2, but you know in the big games, what the 11 is going to be, right? We know in the big games it's going to be Rodri, Silva, and De Bruyne with Foden, Haaland, and Mahrez. You know what he's going to do in the big games, right? And Chelsea, I don't feel he's got that yet. I don't think he knows it. So I'll be surprised if we see that yet. But I would be disappointed if I was a Chelsea fan if he definitely didn't see that after the World Cup. I think he needs to get a formation and stick to it because, as look, Gav, if you were a left back, right, and you're thinking, okay, this week I'm playing left back, this next week I'm playing left wing back, or the week after I'm sitting in as the left sided of a free. How do you build those relationships? How do you get that consistency? How do you settle down? So it's a tough one, but lots of managers are doing it now, right?
Yeah, I just think, if we look at Arsenal, right, if everyone's fit, we already know what the starting line is going to be. There's no real deviation from it, because even at right back, it's Ben White now. Tomiyasu isn't getting in there. Tomiyasu won't be playing left back when Zinchenko's fit, but he but so like we already know what our back four is going to be. We know he's going to be in between sticks. We know he's going to be hold. So like there's argument as to why Arsenal are doing so good this season is because of that consistency, the relationships, the cohesion.
But you know,
I might need to bite the bullet and just be like, right, I know the players that are here now, and if everyone's fit, screw it. This is what I'm playing, and if you don't like it, well, tough. But
then again, Arteta's been at your club for 4 years, right? And
this is the difference. Because at the beginning, we played a back three. We had back four, then we went back three. He changed the system quite a few times to fit the players that were there because they weren't his players. It went until he was able to get the players he wanted in, and now he's got this system. He has the players who can play the system, and now we see that every week. So I think it's just time.
It's not to the same level, but like De Zerbi's gone in at Brighton. He's not made that many changes. Like, I'm not saying their squad's deep. I understand that, but they still have players. But they still have players that can be playing in these positions instead. And he's gone in, and sometimes it's not always about tactical changes. Personnel changes. You could keep the same personnel with mild tactical changes and a different voice. And I think,
I think it is Brighton. Sorry, I think it is at Brighton. Sorry, I think it's they've gone out and got a manager who had a similar philosophy to what Graham Potter had. Right. So he's come in and he said, "You guys basically play what I like to play. Maybe I like to up the intensity or whatever it is, but I'm happy to play the same team." He's not made any changes really at Brighton. They're playing the same system. So it's just come in seamless, keep it as is. Whereas at Chelsea, he could not play what Tuchel was playing. That goes against everything that Graham Potter believes as a manager. Yeah. So he's had to just rip it up and start again. But I get where he's coming from trying to tinker it, but he's only lost one game.
It's difficult as well, Dev. Like, I mean, when you look at, if you look at the Chelsea squad, look, I mean, let's look at it now. If you look at the Chelsea squad and you look at, he's probably going, okay, right, who are my two centre mids going to be if I'm playing a two? And you've got Gallagher, you've got Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic, Loftus-Cheek, Zakaria. It's like, how does he come in and in game one just go, right, these are my best two? You know, what we might think are his best two that might have been under Tuchel playing in a different style might not be able to play what Potter wants to play, but he needs to find that out, right? You know, again, sorry, Party comes in with really silly comments. They spent 250 million. They've just changed their manager. If you can't understand that they're changing philosophy, then
he's lost one game.
He's lost one game. When we say look bang average, here's a question for you, Party after Party.
Why do we keep
just quickly, Gav? Sorry, Party after Party. Here's a question for you. If Chelsea look bang average, what does Spurs look? I'm just asking for a friend. Does Spurs look bang average? Because Chelsea have lost one in, what is Potter? 1 in 9 he's lost?
I think so, yeah.
1 in 9, just got top of his Champions League group, got them a few points outside top 4. I'd be interested to know, because this is what I would say Spurs fans, this is what fans do of any other club. If the manager had just joined Spurs, there'd be every excuse under the sun, wouldn't there? Like, you know, he's only been here 9 games, or, these aren't his players. When it's another manager of another club, we're expecting them to be, we're expecting them to immediately hit the ground running. Listen, let's be honest, guys. There are 2 reasons why there's a managerial change at a club, right? There's 2 reasons. 1, your results are crap and you get sacked, i.e. Tuchel. Or 2, another club comes and poaches your manager. Right? There's no in between for me. There's probably the odd, the odd kind of scenario. But if you like 5 points ahead of them, well, yes, because they sacked their manager because they were doing really poor. It's like, I can't understand people. But guys, what do we think Chelsea will get top 4 this season?
It's a tough one because I think this season there's a lot of teams who are looking very good. Yep. We didn't have a Newcastle before. You know, I think United look good under Ten Hag. You can see what direction they're going in. I think they're starting to really believe into his philosophy, and he's starting to get things right. Liverpool, obviously, you'd imagine they will come back with a bit of a run. Mate, it's a tough one. Like, if I had to stick my neck out on the line, I would say Chelsea would just about sneak in there in fourth.
Look at it, Devo, at the moment, right? I mean, look, I'm not a fan of judging league tables so early on in the season because I think so much happens, so much changes. But right now, Chelsea are 3 points off top four with a game in hand. So for as much as everyone thinks they've been terrible, right? And for as much as people will go, oh, Spurs are miles ahead of them, if Chelsea win their game in hand, we're 2 points ahead of them after 13 games. There's a long way to go. And I think, this is only me, I think they're going to just get better and better under Potter. I think once they learn to play his way, once he decides who his 11 is, once he brings in 2 or 3 more players that can play his way, I think they'll get top 4 easily, is my opinion.
I
think they'll get it, but I don't think easily.
I really hope that Potter doesn't damage his reputation and stuff. I really hope he does well and then takes the England job and then just cracks on and retires in Marbella or whatever. Because I love Graham Potter and if I'm honest, I didn't really know that much about him, and it weren't until I don't remember him playing in the Premier League. Like he was at Southampton, weren't he? But I didn't really care about Southampton then, and when he came over to play us when he was the manager at Ostersund's, I was like, oh, English guy, interesting, and then they beat us. I'm like, yo, okay. But then I didn't really care about him again. Got his job over here, I think it was at Swansea. Then not long after he got the job at Brighton, there's a YouTube channel, I think, called Coach's View or something. And he was on that. And oh my God, if you get the opportunity to watch it, please do. The guy is an absolute genius. And when you watch it, it makes...
And then what do you think of that, Gav?
It fries your brain. Now you get a top 4 with Potter. Well, why not? Are they only not getting top 4 because there will be 4 better teams than them, or will it be the fact that Potter isn't good enough to get there? And if that is the case, then where is your what are you basing that on? That's what I would like to know.
But to be fair, it's the same thing someone said earlier in the chat that Arsenal won't be able to achieve anything because Arteta is not a good enough manager.
What are you basing on?
Where are you getting this from? Look at the turnaround he's made since he's been at Arsenal. It's like because he's not won anything yet, although he has won an FA Cup in his first season. You're just saying that he can't win anything moving forward. It's like you have to win. Do you want to know? You have to achieve something. Doesn't make sense.
I've just looked at what Potter's done since he's been at Chelsea, right? So again, this is one of those things. Again, what I'm saying, guys, is it's literally people get something in their head, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It just gets said. Right. Look at Chelsea right now. Bearing in mind they're 3 points off top 4 with a game in hand. They've played 11 games under Potter. Yeah, they've won 7, drawn 3, and lost 1. Right,
yeah, exactly.
And he loses 1 game, and everyone's going, "Oh, Potter's crap. He can't coach." Blah blah blah. And you're like, "Hang on." Hang on. This is a guy that's taken over a squad that couldn't win games for love nor money. Right? I just don't know why we judge people like that. It's unbelievable.
And the team that he lost to was his team.
Yeah,
he built that team.
Yeah. There might be even a little bit of an element of pride from that side. You know what?
That's his team. It's like he built that team so good that they battered Chelsea.
Matthew, when you're saying you don't believe he's as good a manager as Tuchel, I mean, look, first and foremost, they're very different managers in their styles, right? But the facts are Tuchel was sacked because he had a dreadful final third of the season. Yeah. And had a dreadful start to this season. So when you're saying he's not as good a manager, they're very different. But, you've got to remember, Potter hasn't had the chances that Tuchel's had with big clubs. So what are we basing this? What are we basing? Let's talk about that, guys. Just I know you need to go in 5 minutes, Devo, but what are we basing this off, Gav? When we're saying he's not as good a manager as Tuchel, can they be judged together? Is that even fair, considering who Tuchel's managed and who Potter's managed? Can that be a comparison?
Bobby Di Matteo is not a good manager. He won Champions League with Chelsea. Next question.
Yeah.
I was never on the Tuchel train. I never thought Tuchel was an elite manager. But what I would say is that, if you look at where Thomas Tuchel started his career, when he was at Mainz, did everyone believe that he was an elite manager then? It wasn't until he got the job at Dortmund and then got the job at Paris Saint-Germain. And then at Paris Saint-Germain, everyone thought he was elite because he was winning things at Paris Saint-Germain. Potter's got his first big move. Let's see where this takes him, because in 2 years we might be saying he's elite.
Well, this is the thing, right? Managers need a chance.
Exactly.
And I don't think judging a manager over 11 games, if as a manager you lost 1 every 11, would you be happy with that? 1 every 11?
Yes.
You think about that. You think about that over how many? If you played 55 games in a season, you're losing 5 games.
5. It depends what. But the thing is, it depends what those 5 games are, because if that is the Champions League final, the last game of the season, the FA Cup final, the League Cup final, and then Charity Shield, and I lost all 5 of those, I'll be upset. It's very Bayer Leverkusen 2002, the unwanted treble. So, I see what you're saying though. Like, if they're like, let's be real.
I'm talking about for a Potter. He's not. For a man who's not been to finals yet. This is his first. I'm not belittling the clubs he's been at, but this is the first big club he's managed, and lost 1 in 11. And already fans are like, he's not good enough. He's not this.
Arsenal get a result, as in a dub, on Sunday, I could already see Chelsea fans having a meltdown. I could see them having the biggest meltdown, saying he ain't cut out for the job. Even if they lose, let's say they lose on Sunday, lunchtime, and then they go on and win their next 10 games in the Premier League, literally 30 points from 30. I still believe there will be a percentage of Chelsea fans that was saying that he ain't right for the job. He goes on a run, everyone else keeps mashing it up, and they find themselves in 3rd, 6 points behind top spot. I still think Chelsea fans will find a reason to moan.
It's just so early, isn't it? It's like, if I was Potter going home at night, I'd think, okay, look, there's so much I want to do at this club, but I've given the club 7 wins, 3 draws. I've lost 1 game, and you think the pressure is? I mean, it's a bit crazy for me.
He's this comment here, right? Sava, I feel like I'm you right now because I'm getting aggy by what people are putting in the comments. What you've got on the screen right now.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Screen, right? If not, he's failed to do what Tuchel did. Well, that means Tuchel and Di Matteo are exactly the same as each other. They are both on par with each other.
Let Devo sign out. We'll carry this on. Let Devo sign out, Gav.
Devo, I got peace.
Peace out, man. Thank you for your
input.
It's
been a blast.
As always.
No worries.
Take care, bro. Much love.
Yeah. Take care, man. Thank you.
Those two are then on par with each other because they've both delivered a Champions League. That means Jose Mourinho isn't as good. Carlo Ancelotti isn't as good. You know what I mean?
It's a mad thing to judge them against.
Wasn't as good because those guys have not done what Tuchel's done and not done what. That's such a flawed mentality.
I do feel we judge some crazy things. I want to ask you about this. All right. This is an interesting one. And the question I'm going to ask is this. The word in this, you could probably guess, the one word I want to discuss in this sentence. Can you guess what it is, Gav?
Well, there's one of 2 words. We're going elite or invested.
Elite.
Yeah, I thought so.
I keep having this conversation with football fans. Now, again, taking my Spurs hat off, right? I find it really difficult when we're talking about elite. Elite to me means the best that there is out there, and they've done everything, right? Elite for me is Carlo Ancelotti, right?
Yeah, he's
Elite
an
for
elite
me
manager.
is Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp. Even as a Spurs fan, I can't put Conte in the elite bracket when you look how long he's been a manager and how little impact he's had in Europe. For me, sorry, it's not like every year he's challenging for European trophies and been unlucky. This is a man that's got like a 30% win rate in European competitions. I'm not knocking, the two trophies, the two teams he's won with in Italy were the best two teams at the time. Cool. Well done. Still got to get it done. Did well with Chelsea to win it, and then it started to not go well. But elite, Gav, can we really put him in that bracket with the Jose's and I'm not saying Jose now, but Jose was an elite manager. He won everything with right. Can we call him elite?
No, you can't. And the reason why you can't do that is because at Juve at the time, that the league in Italy was monopolized at the time, very much the way that Bayern are continuing to win the league at the moment in Germany.
Yeah,
it doesn't take away the excitement of the league as in terms of entertainment value game by game. But Juventus, right? They won it year on year. But what were they doing in Europe? They got to a Champions League final, yes. But what else were they doing? Anyone who wanted to buy anyone, Juve will come in, so we'll have them. They were monopolising it. Or if he didn't win that many league titles, then that would be a problem. What he did at Inter needs to be celebrated more than his, in my opinion, because he changed that. He changed the dynamic there. But the system that he played wasn't very exciting. He only went to three at the back because of Arsenal. Really,
yeah. It was that Arsenal game,
2016.
But are we, Gav? Are we getting the word? I feel like as fans, I think we use sensationalism in words that we use. So, like we've had this conversation loads of times before. A player has a good season and they're world class, like one good season, right? The thing with managers, again, this for me sums it up. Conte's not elite. Look at his European record. Then you get the opposite comment from a Spurs fan saying Conte is elite. He's top 5 manager in the world. But how can you? I can't understand how you can be called elite when you've not won a European competition and you've managed clubs like Chelsea, Inter Milan, and Juventus. I don't understand how you can be considered elite. Sorry, that's just me. But aren't we sensationalizing achievements here?
Yeah, no, I agree. I can't really add more to that, if I'm honest. But yeah, look, if we want to start calling him elite, over the next 5 years, just say he stays with Spurs over the next 5 years, he needs to deliver over the next 5 years a minimum of 5 trophies. Minimum. That would be it doesn't matter whether it's the League Cup every year, or the FA Cup every year, or a league title and a European trophy, or whatever. But a minimum of 5 trophies over the I'd say 7 years. 5 trophies, minimum of 5 trophies over the next 7 years. Is he going to be at Spurs for that long? No. Wherever he goes, where's he going to go to next? Is he going to take the Italian national job? If he does that, is he going to get Italy into the World Cup again? Because it's been ages, And once he gets there, is he going to get them challenging for the trophy?
I've got a question for you, Gav. I've got a question for you. Top teams in the world, top teams. Would they want Antonio Conte? Now, hear me out.
No.
Hear me out. Right? If I'm looking at Bayern Munich, their fans would not tolerate his football in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Right? Barcelona would not tolerate his football in any way, shape, or form. The Real Madrid fans would have their handkerchiefs out quicker than you can sneeze.
Dortmund,
right?
You started with Germany. Dortmund wouldn't have him.
Dortmund. This is the thing for
Leipzig
me.
wouldn't have him.
And look, part of when you're saying, okay, Southern, name me 5 managers better than Conte in this very moment. First and foremost, whose definition is that there's 5? Why does there have to be 5? And second of all, what are we judging this on? If we're judging this on what we're judging it on, who's currently won things. If I'm looking at elite managers, I'm looking at the people that have Pep, who wins leagues and cups years in, year out. Yeah, I'm looking at Ancelotti, has done it anywhere he's been, has won 5 or 6 Champions Leagues with 4 different clubs, some crazy stat like that. I'm looking at Klopp, yeah, who's won a Champions League final and got to another 3 or something ridiculous. I'm looking at not this version of him, but what Jose did. That was elite. Winning trebles, right? Winning everywhere he went, whilst winning trebles, whilst winning the Champions League with Inter Milan, winning the Champions League with Porto. That's elite. Not when you've got a 30% win record in Europe across your managerial career. I feel like, look, and this, if ever anything needs to be shown, that I'm not a biased fan. I just feel like we use these words for what? So if anyone wants to tell me that he's an elite manager, can we apply the same logic to footballers that have never won big things? The biggest thing.
Look, Dennis Bergkamp, terrible footballer, never won the Champions League.
No.
I'd rather have Tony Adams than Wes Brown, but Tony Adams never won the Champions League. Wes Brown's got 2. So if that's how you're going to do the logic, then you've got to work it like that as well.
But this is the thing.
It's just
I keep seeing it's crept into football more and more in the last 10 years. These sensational opinions on anybody, but without you know me, Gav, right? You've known me for years now. If somebody gives me something in way of opinion, I'm all for it. Have your opinion. But now when I say to you, right, okay, back that up. Show me. Show me. Back it up. People can't. Yeah? So when people like Greg Spurs are saying Pep and Ancelotti have had top teams, ask yourself a question. Why do they have top teams?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Why?
but then Yusuf comes in with would Conte have won the same amount of trophies or one more? No, he wouldn't.
I don't think he would have.
Because
I don't think he would have.
The fans wouldn't allow it. Look. Pellegrini was probably their most pragmatic manager over the last since they've been in charge at the Etihad, right? And he still was playing exciting football. Just knew when to close it at certain times.
Yeah.
Conte doesn't play exciting football. So
I think the thing is, I'm not saying.
No, it's not, by the way.
But by the way, I'm not saying, I know where he's going with this. He's going to say, well, he won a Champions League. I'm not saying that winning a Champions League automatically makes you elite. But what I'm saying is, for me, elite managers are managers that do it over and over and over and over again. The same way, Gav, you know, if you were going to sit now and go, how many world-class players are there? You know I'm not just going to rattle off 20 players for the sake of it. Elite for me means elite. Yeah. Year in, year out, you're winning shit. Look, and then this is how, again, look, Ancelotti was a joke at Everton. I mean,
Everton.
It's
nobody could go into Everton and turn their fortunes around and turn them into title challengers. It's impossible. Like right now, that is a job that's going to take a good 10 years. Lampard's doing the right thing at the moment to try and get them better, but Everton is still shocking.
It's just if I said to you, give me the best 5 managers over the last 20 years from across Europe.
Over the last 20 years?
Over the last 20 years, who have been the best 5 managers? Ferguson?
Well, not going to say Fergie's still in the conversation, right? Because that's 20 into the last 20 years. Yeah, Jose.
Ancelotti?
Yeah, Pep. You could argue Klopp's in there as well. Zidane. Yeah.
Zidane and
I'll put Klopp in that conversation.
Klopp.
He's only been around for 10 years.
Sorry, for me, Conte doesn't. He
I won't
doesn't
put- I
enter
won't-
these
I won't-
conversations for me.
I won't put Conte in there.
Listen, here's the question I would ask you. Let me flip this on its head. For all the people that go, oh, yeah, but Pep only manages the top teams. Yeah. You know why Pep only manages the top teams? Because every club in the world wants Pep Guardiola. Why does everyone in the world... Let's be fair. If Pep Guardiola got sacked today, name me another club in world football that wouldn't want him. Would Bayern take him?
Back. Would they take him back?
But he's been at Bayern. The biggest clubs want the best managers. My question is this: if Conte is elite, why is he the manager of Tottenham Hotspur? Why? There's my question. If he's elite, why is he not at a big club that win things?
Yeah.
Just food for thought.
There's that question there. Was Wenger considered elite? No, he wasn't. But he was a world-class manager, and he was consistent.
Right.
And like, especially in his first 10 years, he could have gone on to become an elite manager. He was a top-end manager. Man United wanted him. Man United wanted him back in 2002.
Yeah.
And instead, Ferguson decided that he was going to sign a new contract. And obviously stayed at Man United. So,
but mate, Spurs fans
Man United when they were on their,
honestly, Spurs fans, we can kid ourselves through anything. So, first of all, I mean, this is a lie. He was unlucky in the Champions League. He's never been unlucky in the Champions League. He's not done anything in the Champions League of note. He's not done anything. He's never been unlucky. Yeah, this is ridiculous, right? Then we've got, right, Bryce, I never said, no, people aren't listening. I'm saying I don't think, Tuchel's an elite manager and he's won the Champions League.
No. I think he's bantering with me, agreeing with what I was saying, because I said about Bergkamp must be crap because he's never won a Champions League, and Tony Adams.
Oh, I see. Right, okay,
Wes Brown's obviously better than Tony Adams because Wes Brown's won 2.
Oh, right, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. I mean, Alex, big up to yourself, mate. Obviously, I know Alex well. We drink together in that, but doesn't that say it all for you? The fact that Spurs were the best available club for Conte to join, doesn't that say it for you? If you were an elite manager, if Pep Guardiola got sacked today and there were no jobs available, he's not just going to take the Tottenham job, is he? He's going to wait for a big club.
On top of that, don't you find it funny that Man United didn't move hell on earth?
Yep. They wouldn't want his football. Can you imagine the Man United fans watching? I mean, look what they hated Solskjaer for it. Listen, can I just say, for all those people in the chat, right? I have not once said that winning it automatically makes you elite. I've never said that, because if I did, I would have to say that Di Matteo is an elite manager. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, for me, the top managers will win things year in, year out, plus will have a record in Europe. I'm not talking about, they went and won one trophy. I'm talking about they will win it constantly. Yeah. Again, this is a lie. Man United didn't want
him.
Man United didn't want Conte. PSG wanted him. Okay, why didn't they get him? You're telling me Spurs, honestly, Gav, I'm sure if I went onto an Arsenal show, it'd be the same. But yeah, Spurs fans we kid ourselves of anything.
I think put it this way, I think there are only 2 elite managers. I think there are 2.5 elite managers. And that is Pep and Ancelotti.
Couldn't disagree with you.
And that's okay. You don't have to have a third. You don't have to have a fourth.
Yeah.
But there is if we do have to, for purpose and entertainment value, there is a next tier down, which does
Agreed.
include the likes of what we've mentioned already, the likes of Zidane, etc.
Simeone,
So
Klopp.
yeah, because Simeone, people are going, is shit. No, is not doing so well this season, and that's okay.
Yeah, you
You
had a
know,
bad year.
yeah.
And you have to look at if you look at it right. This is what makes me laugh. I'm sorry. This is this is I find hilarious. People have their own perception of what something is, and then say that it's a rule, right? So people will go to me, "Oh, is he with footballers? Is he one of the best 5 players in his position in the world?" Okay, but does that automatically make him world class? Maybe all 5 of them aren't world class, right?
Yeah.
This is what makes me laugh. But we've crept into this era now where everyone wants everyone to be from there to there without having earned it. I'm sorry, but Conte for me, I don't know what he's ever done in Europe. I think he got to a Europa League final, if I'm right. I want to say he got to a Europa League final. Can anyone confirm that? He may have got to a Europa League final.
Yeah.
But
No, I
Poch
don't think
the Champions League final. He's not elite.
There then, was he?
Who?
I can't think of when he did that.
I'm so sure he did. I'm so sure he did. Yeah, with it. Okay, someone said he did with Inter.
Was he the gaffer at Inter? I thought he took over the following season. That's my bad.
Yeah, apparently they lost against Sevilla. I mean,
yeah, they did.
But
yeah,
listen, and the reason I like having these sort of conversations is I love highlighting bias in football. You know I do, Gav. I love highlighting it. We was having a chat last night about James Maddison on a show, and I said to loads of people, loads of Spurs fans coming in going, I wouldn't want him for that much. He's not better than what we've got. All this kind of nonsense.
Yeah, classic.
The funny thing is, and do you know what? And we said on the show last night, in his last 46 Premier League games, he's got 34 goal contributions from attacking midfield. And I said, can you imagine, Gav, if a Tottenham player right now had 34 goal contributions in the last 46 games, Spurs fans would be calling for the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
Player of the year. Mm-hmm. He's worth 200 million. But when it's a player for someone else down the road, it's, yeah. And I've never been a biased fan. I find it pointless.
Maddison is exactly the type of player that Tottenham need, but he's going to be going to Newcastle. And it's going to be such a failure. But the thing is, not a failure from Maddison, a failure from Tottenham as a club. But the issue is, you could buy Kevin De Bruyne right now, and he would not affect the way that Tottenham play because of the system that you play under a defensive manager that you've got. Sure. It doesn't matter who you bring in. Like, the only things that can make you better is maybe if you were to go out and get a couple of decent centre halves, then that might take a little bit of pressure off. But
agreed.
You play the system that you play. Even when what pissed me off, right? When I was like, I said it on my radio show, and I was like, I think Tottenham needs to do something differently. Maybe they should try and play 3 in midfield, and they did play 3 in midfield, but with a back 3 still. I was like,
no, yeah, right. Or if you're gonna play 3 in midfield, this is the thing, right? I was saying for ages, go to a 3-5-2, right? And he did it, and we lost, and everyone went, see, it doesn't work. Now, first of all, it's so silly because you can't just play a system in one game and think that, right? Second of all, you can't just have 3 in midfield like we did at Man U and stick all 3 right on top of the 3 centre halves. Off that 3 in midfield, one's got to go. One's got to go and join in, right? But Conte has them all in line. But did you know, Gav, that we're very lucky? We've got a Real Madrid employee in our chat because apparently he knows that the players at Real Madrid didn't want Conte because they would have to train too hard with him. I don't know how he knows this, but this is what I mean by fans. Have you noticed this guy so far, Gav? Right? This guy so far he was unlucky in the Champions League. All right, he would have to be. The Madrid players wouldn't want him because they'd have to work too hard with him, even though they win trophies every bloody year without him. Right? Yeah. The excuses are I just don't get it, mate. I just don't get it. Look, we're going to go for another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to let you go, Gav. I just like these different types of debates. Here we go. Here we go, Gav. Okay, name a manager who won 5 leagues in 7 attempts with different clubs, most of them underachieving. Sorry, with different clubs, most of them underachieving. That's elite for me. Okay, that can be elite for you.
Okay, no. If this is on Chelsea, right? Yeah, because Chelsea won the league in 16-17 under Conte.
Yeah.
Didn't they win the title 2 seasons before that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But they had a dip the year after, and then they weren't you know why? They didn't have Europe.
They didn't have Europe.
I'm pretty sure they didn't have Europe the year he was there.
No, they didn't, because like the year before that was when Mourinho almost got them relegated, if you want to call it that. They didn't have like Gus again until the end of the season. Like, as always, give it to Gus. He'll sort it. But then, Juve were the elite team.
This is the thing, right?
Exactly. You man said Greg. It's fine.
This is the thing for me, Gav. Right? If we're looking at, I'd be interested to know if Conte had gone down the road to Arsenal, would these same Spurs fans now be calling him elite, or would we be going, look at that shocking football he's playing down the road? Right, and that for me is everything about football fans. Everything about football fans right there. So, for example, when I'm having debates with Spurs fans about Ryan Sessegnon and Emerson Royal, and fans going, oh, no, they're good, and blah, blah, I say, if they played for Arsenal, we would be going, oh, my God, have you seen how shit they are? Have you seen how bad they are?
I personally don't mind Ryan Sessegnon, if I'm honest.
Mate, honestly,
because of
his
time at Hoffenheim. And you know me, my Bundesliga merchantness.
Mate, honestly, watching the Spurs, it is... I think I'd rather have you at left wing back. Honestly...
Stop underestimating how good I was at left full back.
I'm not underestimating you. You're overestimating him.
No, I think he's just a good player. But for where you need to be striving for better. That's where it is from my end of view.
For sure.
You need a creative midfielder, but you're never going to get one, and you're never going to play one. Which makes me then think, do you know what? When Kulusevski's back, what are you going to do with him? You're going to bang him out wide? And if so, then is it going to be much of a benefit?
Do you know what the thing is with Spurs? While we'll always do well. No, I said the word well. I didn't say amazing. We're going to win anything like that. We'll always do well because we've got too much going forward for the lesser teams.
Yeah.
For the lesser teams, right? So I've got no doubt every time we play a Bournemouth, a Fulham, a Wolves, a Southampton, we've got too much in attack. Every time we play a decent team, Conte struggles unbelievably. Like this, and again, this is what I keep hearing, right? This is how the narrative changed. I know you need to go in a minute, so just really quickly. The narrative changed, from the summer where so many Spurs fans were calling me negative because I said he wasn't backed and these weren't the players he wanted. Right?
He made 9 signings.
Right. Now, they were all saying, yeah, he did. He got these were his players. He got the squad. We've got this, that, other. Now the football's crap. The narrative has changed to, yeah, but he's not being backed. These aren't his players. It's not his fault. All I know is if you're an elite manager, your team does not play every game the way Tottenham Hotspur play football. That is not an elite manager. I would suspect that most managers in world football could do what Conte is doing right now because of the forwards you've got. It's just the way I look at it. I don't see anything elite about the guy at all. He, for me, he's got lovely hair. He's got lovely suits. He's got a sexy Italian name, but he's not, again, right. This guy, I should block this guy from my show.
No, don't.
No, I won't. I wouldn't. I never would. But I would never would. But it's
great.
like when we've got injuries to Kulu, Romero, Richie, and Son. I mean, first and foremost, Hong-Min's son got injured yesterday. Right.
And apart from Leicester, what's he done all season?
Right. And has been crap all season. Right. Richie has been crap all season before he got injured. right? Romero has missed 2 games, I think. Again, sensationalism. Tell the true story, right? Tell the true story. You can't start chucking in a player who's just got injured last night as a reason why we're playing crap football when he's played every game so far this season.
And
It's
Kulusevski's he's only been at the club for 11 months.
who, Kulusevski?
Yeah.
Less than that. He came.
He came in January, didn't he?
It's November, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's November. Yeah.
10,
Sorry.
10,
Yeah.
11 months.
11 months.
So I'm not having that in the conversation either. Yes, don't get me wrong. Conte has only been there for 12 months right now. I understand that, but that's them that basically saying that Kulusevski is the reason why you're not playing that well.
Yeah. If one player, if one of our wingers is the reason why we are playing awful football, then something's very, very wrong. I understand if your team is based around, I was going to say Kevin De Bruyne, but there's been many games where City are brilliant without Kevin De Bruyne. If your game is based around like Barcelona towards the end with Messi, and Messi comes out and you go, oh my God, look how bad it is. But let's be honest, we're not talking about, look, we're going to end the show there. I mean, Leslie Crawford's come in with, just quickly has said, party, Son, Kulu and Richie, between them have scored 4 Premier League goals this season. Right? Hantiomi has said Conte's being found out, same tactics every game. Well, the thing is, Hantiomi, it does work depending on the opposition.
Yeah.
So, as I said, Bournemouth, we're all right. We're going to come back. Anyway, Gav, thank you. I know you need to go. I know you've not been feeling very well, so thank you for sticking
And I've
out
also got one
for 2
little
hours.
person in the morning as well, so that's going to be fun.
Well, listen, enjoy yourself. Just really quickly, question: do you guys think Son would be past his peak, or is it due to the World Cup and players are not really performing?
Do you know what? That's a debate for a different day.
Yeah, that's too long. That's too long to answer now.
Yeah,
he's not past
very
his
good
peak,
question though. Very good question.
I'm just going to say one last thing, Gav. Whenever I have a debate and I tell people Heung-min Son is not world class, right? It's because take the goals away from him, you see that there's not a lot to his game. I'm going to end the show on that one. Gav, thanks so much for coming on. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Some good debates tonight. We like to mix it up on a Wednesday night. Gav, I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Much love. See you later.
All the best.
And see you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.